because I still don't sure I understand like the backstory with Shazam and why he's not just a superhero, why there's like a bunch of kids with the superpowers, like why they all have the same superpowers, but it seemed like each one had a different specialty in this superpower thing. And then together, they can defeat, Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren and some new chick. I don't know who that lady is. Anyway, and when I hear Becca talk about prayer, I feel that way. I feel like there's like a superpower that we're leaving behind by not laying claim, by not using. We're like just leaving it behind. We're not really fully functioning in our faith because we're just forgetting about prayer. So I'm really anxious for prayer to be a bigger part of what we're doing here and to get everyone involved. So anyway, like I said, St. Paul's first letter to Timothy, chapter 6. Right. Life is good. To my mind, we can read this one of two ways. Life is good. As an observation or as a declaration. We can say life is good only when we observe that life finally meets our expectation. Life is good, right? I got my butt in the water, toes in the sand, right? And life is good. As a result of things that have happened, right? We can say life is good. An observation of our life. Or we can declare, even when I was writing this, is anyone else a fan of The Office? We can't be friends if you're not. So anyway, there was this one scene where Michael was in a lot of financial trouble. I don't know why I'm fading in now. I'm not even moving. Anyway, Michael was in a lot of financial trouble, and he decided he was going to declare bankruptcy. So he walks into the office like, I declare bankruptcy. So that was it. That's all it took to declare bankruptcy. Anyway, it always makes me laugh. Anyway, we can declare life is good when we regard what we have right now in life as good. This is the difference. Not waiting for life to happen to me or all the pieces to fall into place, but instead say we might be low on battery on this battery pack. So if I'm going to keep talking though, because we got to do stuff right now. Anyway, I'm going to see what size they are. Just kidding, they're double-A stuff. Because you do that with a 9-volt battery, right? You lick it to make sure that it's. We're off to a really scattershot start. This idea of life being good, though, whether we're making it as an observation or a declaration, one takes more effort than the other. It's easy for to let happen to you, get all the things you think you want, and then say, life is good. That's easy. It takes more energy to say, you know what? Life is good. It takes emotional energy and emotional intelligence to declare that life is good for you. The good life. We're convinced that we'll find the good life somewhere in the American dream. Pew Research tells us that the U.S. has more immigrants than any other country in the world. More people come here to chase the American dream than any place else. People love the idea of America and the American dream. And the reasons are plentiful. There's great education, there's great work options, there's freedom, there's safety, there's a competitive marketplace where you say that I want to do this thing, you can just go start doing that thing. And then it's up to you whether you succeed or not. Like you can't do that in all the countries in the world. So people like to come to America because they can make their own mark. It seems that there are more ladders to success in America than just about anywhere else. Everyone wants to come here and find their ladder. I want to find my ladder to success. And that's the path we take, whether we were born here or came here from somewhere else. But I think that this idea that we make all the money so that we can buy all the comfort and conveniences we can, I wonder if that's not really the American dream as much as it is the American ruse. It's certainly not the Jesus way. Work as hard as I can to make all the money I can so I can afford all the comfort and conveniences I can. Like, we get caught up sometimes in this idea that, well, this is America. George Washington, right? And like, as though America and like satisfaction in life are like entwined together like nowhere else. Like no one else can have that. And how that looks for us is this idea that we work really hard, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, make our own way, and then we can buy all the comfort and conveniences that we want. Then we've made it. And I'm just wondering if that's not really, like, it's our way. You know, it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those things. I work my buns off. I have 3 jobs, right? Like, I like comfort and convenience. Like, I got this Outback that has this thing where you can, like, slide out, like, an extra, like, thing for your backs of your legs. You're like, oh, that's nice. I like that. You know what I mean? And heated and cooled seats. Like, what? Yeah, give me that. And I have a remote start where, like, in the winter, I feel like I'm not cut up. Maybe you just have to keep standing there. I'm just kidding, Doug. You don't have to keep standing there. I'll just take them. So if it goes out again, I'll replace it. I had this thing where I can remote start and I can tell the car what kind of temperature to have. So in the winter, I had the heated seats on and the defroster that, like, I could just put on my phone and I'll, right, and my car starts. And then in the summer, I change it to being cold and cold seats. Okay. I love that. I'll work as hard as I have to work, so I never have to give up that. So I'm not telling you this because I think you're all stupid and I'm great. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is the convenience that we try to work for. This is the comfort that we're trying to work for. But is that it? Is that really the answer? I love this quote I found from a Trappist monk. His name is Thomas Merton. He is just this dude. He's like, look at him. He's just a dude. He's not a saint yet, but I think they're working on it. I don't know. Like, he's got this, like, I don't know. This is not just a hand-me-down jacket. This has been handed down from that guy to now 127. I don't know. 150 had it before, and I don't know about it first, but this is Thomas Merton. And he said this. He said, people may spend their whole lives climbing a ladder of success only to find, once they reach the top, that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Come on. What are we chasing? I'm just going to replace these batteries real quick. Sorry, this is really unprofessional. But this is like church. I mean, this is on church. For a fact that as life church, I know for a fact, it still comes in and out. That's beautiful. For a fact, like before every service electric, they replace all the batteries in every pack. Like they're like, we're only gonna have fresh batteries. And then there's this box of like once used batteries. And so like if you ever needed a battery, you just went to that box and just grabbed because they were just once used. Anyway. Judy, was that your phone, honey?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to take the next few weeks to talk about this idea of how our ladder might not be against the right wall. So we're going to talk about it in a series we're calling American Gods, Money, and Comfort. I was having a conversation, who was it with? My friend Nicholas Hatcher. And I was explaining money to him for me. I'm lousy with money. When left on my own with money, I was bankrupt. I had repossessed. I had this really dope Suzuki Samurai. It was emerald green. Man, that was a great. This is back when Samurais were a big deal. They're like beep beep. That was the thing. Beep beep. Anyway, the top was impossible to get on and off with any kind of regularity. I also had, because we needed 2 vehicles, I also had this super dope Honda Elite 150. It had this little pop-up headlight like that. It was like, I think Jim McMahon was the spokesperson, and it was like the Lou Reed song. Doom, doom. It's a really filthy song. Don't listen to that song. But like the theme song to that. Anyway, both those things were repossessed because I'm lousy with the money. Thank God for my wife Kate, who's not lousy with money. In fact, my brother, when I was courting Kate, said, "Yeah, you got to marry this girl because she'll take care of your money." Because I didn't have a problem making money. I just, if I had money, I'd spend money. If I didn't have money, I wouldn't spend money. And to this day, at 56 years old, that's still how I operate. You know what I mean? And so I work so hard that money's not an issue. Like I'll work my butt off, so I don't ever have to have a conversation about money. There's just so much money. Please don't mishear me. There's just enough money where like it doesn't come up in conversation. I hate the conversation. My stomach drops. Yeah, I've been looking at our checking account. I'll just want to vomit. Like if you just, you know what I mean? Like I hate it. And so I'll just work my butt off so I don't have to ever have that conversation. Now I don't have a good relationship with money. I have a horrible relationship with money. Maybe you have a horrible relationship with money. Probably not Joe. I feel like your whole job, Joe, is to be good with money. So if you need help with your financial planning, go see my friend Joe Simon from Da Vinci Insurance and Financial Planning. I'm just kidding. I can't do that because anyway. But I know that I have this bad relationship. That's not healthy. How I see money isn't healthy. It's not Jesus-y. And even if I say that I do Jesus things with my money, if I have money, I'm giving everybody the money. Like I'm just like super generous. I'm super just out there. Right? Like that's just, if I see someone in need and I've got money, then my money's your money. And if I don't have money, I'm gonna need some money. That's how I work. And I don't like it. And so half of us doing this sermon series is like, we all got to get healthier about our idea of money. And so, as the teaching of Jesus and the establishment of the way took hold outside of Jerusalem, as Christianity grew, St. Paul assembled a team of missionary teachers whom he then sent to establish new churches and keep them healthy. Silas, Barnabas, John Mark were among the group. And then there was this new kid, Timothy, a new friend of Paul's. After meeting Timothy and his mom and his Mima in Lystra, Paul sent Timothy to the church in Ephesus, who was having some problems with their leadership. People who were battling for control, misteaching the words of Christ, and as it applies to our conversation, using the church to get rich. They were like using it to sell books. They were using it to like get speaking engagements. They were using the church and their knowledge so they could charge people for their knowledge. You know what I mean? They were using the church. So Paul, after sending Timothy to Ephesus, followed up with his correspondence to help coach him through his mission. In that letter, St. Paul says this. He says, there is a real profit in the Christian faith, of course, but it comes only to those who live contentedly as God would have them live. We brought absolutely nothing with us when we entered the world, and we can be sure that we shall take absolutely nothing when we leave it. Surely then, as far as physical things are concerned, it is sufficient for us to keep our bodies fed and clothed. For men who set their hearts on being wealthy expose themselves to temptation. They fall into one of the world's traps and lay themselves open to all the sorts of silly and wicked desires, which are quite capable of utterly ruining and destroying their souls. I mean, is this every television show on Netflix right now? For loving money leads to all kinds of evil, and some men in the struggle to be rich have lost their faith and caused themselves untold agonies of the mind. Tell those who are rich in this present world not to be contemptuous of others and not to rest the weight of their confidence on the transitory power of wealth, but on the living God. Like, that's the whole message. Not rest the weight of their confidence on the transitory power of wealth, but on the living God who generously gives us everything for our enjoyment. Tell them to do good, to be rich in kindly actions, to be ready to give to others and sympathize with those in distress. Their security should be invested in the life to come so that they may be sure of holding a share in a life which is permanent. According to Credit Suisse, the wealthiest nation in the world in 2022 by net worth, cumulative net worth, was the United States, with a net wealth of $145 trillion. So if we pool all our money together to buy a new cottage together, we would have, that shocked Joe. He dropped his phone just then. A combined net worth of $145 trillion, which is weird though, isn't it? Like that's the kind of numbers that they talk about. It's like the defense budget last year was $145 trillion. What? The whole country's only worth $145 trillion. Anyway, and according to a study from the Allianz AG in 2022, the U.S. was ranked as the richest country per capita with a figure of $259,000 or $259,780. Now, I'm telling you right now that I'm below that. So I'm bringing some of you all down in my net worth because I'm not at $259,780. Those are big numbers. But like the man said, more money, more problems. Now, you might know my friend Christopher Wallace as Biggie Smalls. Big E, right? I can sing this song for you if you want. I'm coming out. Anyway, they sampled Diana Ross's. And then Mace comes in and he starts. This is like Mace's first first big song, right? Like, Macy's, I know. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, there's a kind of famous financial planner called Waldine Wall. He said this: we live in the richest nation in history and amongst the richest Christians in history with little to no fear of the dangers of money. If this is true, then Christians will have to work harder than any other group of Christians in history to show that money is not our God. The heart naturally loves money. I tell the story all the time, I know that I do, about how I went to the slums of Kibera in Kenya. I went to church and worshiped with people that had literally no pot to pee in. And how their worship and their reverence and their adoration and celebration of God was unlike anything I'd ever seen here, where we have all the things. It was just remarkable. And you try to figure out what the difference is. Because, I've been saved from stuff. You've been saved from stuff. They've been saved from stuff, but still don't have anything. But they know they've been saved from stuff. But it's hard when we're wealthy, even if you think you're not wealthy. It's hard when you're wealthy because you think it was the wealth that you had, no matter how big or little it was, that got you there. God didn't get you there. I made that. I did that. It's hard with money, no matter how much or how little you have, because you think that you did it. Until, what if you didn't have it? And so, as we started to discuss, that's our cultural view, that our heart naturally loves money. But why? Why is it so easy for us to get caught up in the pursuit and purveyance of money? And in any culture, and at any time in human history, it takes currency to make life happen. Even to just sneak by, it takes money. There's no doubt about that. We're all motivated by money. When you have nothing, you're super motivated by money. Because you can't make anything happen without money. And even if you have money, you still need money to make things happen. Modern man has never figured out how to remove money from the equation. Even socialism in its purest form, or communism in its pure form, can't account for two things: need and greed. No system can fully provide for all people, all classes in need, no matter what system we're talking about, no matter what ism we're talking about. And no system can fully account for or prevent the human condition for greed. If I have a little, I want more. If you have something I don't have, I want your thing, and your thing, and your thing. And if I have power to take it, I'm going to take it. That's the problem. Because here's the thing. I think I know enough about mankind that to say that enough is never enough. Once I know a little, I want more. If a little is good, more is better. If I have more, I know that the most is the best. Even when we start with nothing and find a way to meet our needs, we blow right past that. We blow right past what we need, and we start to think about what more we would like to have. And this idea, this nature of ours isn't new to God. He's been dealing with our spirit around this for 3,200 years. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost were on the desert ground. When the Israelites saw it, they asked each other, "What is that?" Which, by the way, is what manna means in Hebrew. What is that? Is manna. They asked this question because they didn't know what it was. So Moses told them, "This is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. The Lord has commanded each one of you must gather what you need, gather about 2 quarts for every person in your family." So the people of Israel did this. Some people gathered much and some people gathered little. Then they measured it. The person who gathered more did not have too much, and the person who gathered less did not have too little. Each person gathered just as much as he needed. Moses said to them, "Don't keep any of it to eat the next day or later that night for your midnight snack or second breakfast." But some of the people did not listen to Moses. They kept part of it to eat the next morning, but it became full of worms and began to stink. So Moses was angry with these people. I've landed at a place in my understanding of Scripture and the kingdom of God that informs me that the manna of Exodus is the money of today. This is how I think of it. That no matter how much we collect, if we're right with God, it's going to be the perfect amount. Whether it's a little or whether it's a lot, whatever we were meant to collect is what we collect. It's when we try to get more that it goes wrong. I wish it literally fell out of the sky, money. I would rather not have to work my butt off. I would rather just take the days off, right? Just like have it fall from the sky and land on the ground and just collect it and just have it. But if I reverse engineer what I have, if I go back and try to say, where did I get what I got? How did I get here? I see that everything I have comes from God's hand. Every opportunity I've had or have has been because of His grace and love for me. Everything. Every last shred of it. I'm smart, sure I'm smart, right? I'm good looking. Of course I'm good looking. I'm totally just kidding, right? But there are things that I have, but all those things are gifts. My intelligence is a gift. My charm is a gift. My sense of humor is a gift. I didn't make that up. It's a gift. And so this ability, the thing that I do that I make the most money at is taking pictures, specifically at weddings. So if you're engaged and you need me to take pictures at your wedding, make sure you call me. But that's it's a amount of money. But my ability to take pictures, anyone can take a picture. A monkey can take a picture. You just take a picture, right? I feel like the difference is like I make everyone feel special when I'm taking a picture. Because they are special. I say that I fall in love with everyone I'm taking pictures with. There's something about everyone that I fall in love with. And so I just follow that. I make sure that they know that that's beautiful about them. And then they're like, really? And all of a sudden they just look at me like your face and you keep making it. Like, shut up, somebody. Anyway, it's like I can take that picture, and that's what makes my pictures good. So that ability to do that, I didn't make that up. God gave me that. There was nothing wrong with God's manna. It was perfect and it was enough for the Israelites. There's nothing wrong with the living that I make. It's enough and it was perfect for me. There's nothing wrong with money unless we hoard it. Unless we squirrel it away for ourselves. And then, like manna, it goes rotten in our hearts, rancid and festered with worms. That's when the trouble comes. We're like Gollum, right, in the Lord of the Rings. My precious! Oh, my precious! That was really hard. I feel like, have you guys ever seen Lord of the Rings? What's even happening in this room today? Anyway, we get that way about our money. It's like, no, that's my money. Hey, do you think you can would you round up for a children's hospital? No. I don't even have children. It's my money. You know how hard I work for my money? And that is when money gets ugly. It's that when money gets festered and covered in worms and stinks. There is a pursuit of money, an amount of money, and an attitude towards money that is spiritually destructive. And that's our cultural worldview. That's how we look at money. Money, money, money. Money! Money, money, money. I don't even know who that was. Anyone know who that was? What was that? What was that song? Anyway, it wasn't ABBA.
Well, in Mamma Mia, they have a song called Money, Money.
Pink Floyd.
Oh, Pink Floyd.
Dum, 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 dum. Money is a bride. All of a sudden, I'm like Eddie Vedder singing. Led Zeppelin singing. The biblical worldview is to move towards simplicity and generosity for the sake of the gospel, not towards luxury and finery. The biblical worldview is to move towards simplicity and generosity for the sake of the gospel and not towards luxury and finery. So let me leave you today with 5 warning statements from God's word about riches. Number 1, Matthew 13:22 says this. The seed sown among the thorns represent the man who hears the message, and then the worries of his life and the illusions of wealth choke it to death so that it produces no crop in his life. This is in this parable of the seeds, the crazy grounds. This is the one where the ground was fertile. It was perfect. The ground was perfect. In fact, it was so perfect that other stuff grew up around it and choked it. So when we think about this America that we live in, when we think about this American dream, it's fertile ground where we can make stuff happen and it's perfect. But instead of just letting it be, what it was a thing of simplicity and generosity for the sake of the gospel, other stuff grows around it and chokes it off. This represents those who hear and understand teaching about the kingdom, however they are distracted by worldly things, and that includes includes wealth and ultimately superficial concerns. Their potential growth loses out in a battle against materialism and the stress of everyday life. And just as a weed steals nutrients from the soil and the light from the sun, those cares steal away the needed time and attention to commit to the Messiah. That's the problem with weeds and thorns. The plant never grows to maturity, so it never multiplies into more seeds of grain. It gets a single thing, and a family of things is this one thing, and it gets choked off by our obsession with wealth or material things or possessions. No more can grow. Number 2, no one can be loyal to 2 masters. He is bound to hate one and love the other, or support one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and the power of money at the same time. Love of money is the alternative to faith in God's future grace. It is faith in future human resources, the kind of thing you can obtain or secure with your money. The love of money, the reliance on money, the adoration of money, the lifting up of money replaces God because we're like, I'm sure God's going to be fine. I'll get to church on Sunday, but in the meantime, I've got this fat nest egg. Or I've got this second home, or these bunch of investment properties, or again, there's nothing wrong with these things. If God's blessed you with those things, that's great. But if we're obsessing about it to replace God with it, now there's a problem. So it's then that the love of money or trust in money is the underside of unbelief of the promises of God. I don't trust God to truly take care of me, which is actually my current retirement plan, because I think I have $85, Joe, in my IRA right now. So, but I'm 56. I got a lot of time. But this thinking that it's up to us to take care of ourselves is the underside, the underbelly of unbelief. You can't trust God and in money at the same time. Belief is one and unbelief in the other. I trust my money means that you don't trust God. I trust God means that I don't need to trust my money. So a heart that loves money, that banks on money for happiness, is not banking on all that God has for us, or that has given us in Jesus for the satisfaction of our souls. So maybe it's not even retirement. Maybe it's happiness that we're talking about. God's not enough to make me happy. I need to work so I can buy the comforts and conveniences to make me happy. I don't trust God to make me happy. I can't be satisfied with what God has given me. I can't be satisfied with the 2 quarts of manna, which are like this really honey flavored bread, really light, flaky, like phyllo dough. Phyllo dough? Phyllo dough? Phyllo? Anyway, and so that's not enough. I need more than that to be happy. That's the one I'm questioning you about today. Is the 2 quarts enough? Whatever your 2 quarts looks like. Because the Bible just told me that some people gathered a lot and it was enough. And some people gathered not enough, but it was enough. So whatever your 2 quarts looks like, are you trusting that that's enough for you? Or are you yeah, this is nice, God, but my true happiness lies in more things. Because there's a Subaru Outback Touring XT, which comes with a turbo. And so, I didn't know that was a thing until I drove one. And I'm going on an on-ramp. This thing takes forever to get the speed of my Subaru. Unless I had the XT, which is a turbo. It's yeah, you need that. My Subaru Outback is enough. In fact, my last Subaru Outback was enough. I didn't need to get the thing. I didn't need to do that. It was enough, but I wanted more. I wanted to be happy. I wasn't counting on God to make me happy. Even as I said this morning, and before you all got here, there was only 4 or 5 of us here. It was 10 to 9. I'm it's 10 to 9. No one's coming. I failed. I suck. This whole thing sucks. That's how my head works. As though I didn't trust God. As though I needed to trust myself. I should have done more marketing. I should have sent out more emails or text messages. I should have boosted a post on Facebook so more people would be here. Because there's only 4 people here right now. My friend Becca's Scott, who's here is supposed to be here. Shut up, Becca. I didn't really say that. But that's how I am. No, I don't trust. I don't trust God. And then all y'all show up. 50 more people came. Okay. All right, God. You got me. Again. And that's just what he does for me. He just gets me again and again and again. But I don't trust him. And today we're talking about money to make us happy. But like, I wonder for you in your life, are the things that you're like, I'm not trusting him. Like, I believe in him. I'm sure he's great. He's probably working his butts off. But another guy's multiple butts. But like, I'm sure he's working really hard for me, right? But like, I don't trust him. I don't trust him with my happiness. Next one. And then turning to the disciples, he said to them, notice that, and be on your guard against covetousness. And be on your guard against covetousness in any shape or form, for a man's real life in no way depends upon the number of his possessions. A man's real life in no way depends upon the number of his possessions. Abundance is not necessary to uphold our lives, nor will abundance protect our lives. Abundance doesn't do anything for us to make our life more. It only makes our pride more, our ambition more, our carnalness more. Some philosophers determine really that something of this world's good is necessary. Excuse me. Before we ate, I had a Long John, but I didn't have a lot of time, so I only ate the top halves of the Long John. Okay, I know that that's a thing, not a surprise to some of you, I know. But like, now like it's making me super all like burpy right now. I don't know why but it's really sweet, like manna. Some philosophers determine that something of this world's good is necessary for our happiness in life, but the abundance is not. Like, God's given us all these things. Like, we're not supposed to go live in a cave, don't mishear me. But everything that he has given you is enough. Like, he's given us this beautiful creation, this beautiful world, beautiful friends and family and everything else. That's what's enough. So there's some things in this world that are enough, and they're given to us. They're given to us. But abundance, or forsaking God to accumulate more, that's when there's a problem. Because the poor are as merry and many times more satisfied, more healthy, and more at ease than those that have abundance. Because, like, I know a lot of people that have a lot, and there's pressure to keep a lot going. I got a lot, and now not only do I want a lot, but now my kids want a lot. And now that I know that I'm expected to have a lot, and so now I got this pressure to keep a lot going. And so people that don't have anything, like, no, I'm good. I'm taking the day off. I'm taking the day off. Keep your lives free from the lust of money. Be content with what you have. God has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Covetousness is the opposite of contentment. And this, I guess, is more than just money. I mean, this is like relationships or jobs, or covetousness is the opposite of contentment. So if you're not content, what are you coveting? And is it healthy? Is it biblical? Is it spiritual? Like, if you're just like, I need more of this because I need more of this, you gotta start like running that through the question, running that through the Wayback Machine, right? And just like, why am I coveting this? What is it about this? And is it something that I truly need? Or is it something that I just want because of my pride, because of something else? Often covetousness and greed are excused or even admired in our culture today. And that's just simply called ambition. Oh, he's very ambitious. Contentment has much more to do with what you are on the inside rather than what you have. Last one. Don't be afraid, you tiny flock. Your Father plans to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give the money away. Get yourselves purses that never grow old, inexhaustible treasure in heaven, where no thief can ever reach it or moth ruin it. For wherever your treasure is, you may be certain that your heart will be there also. Now listen, the thing about selling all your possessions and giving to the poor was specific to this guy that Jesus was talking to. Like, it's something that Christians can be called to, but I don't believe this is something that all Christians are called to. That, but we should be ready for that call and command to come. We should hold things so loosely that if the call ever did come, we'd be like, oh yeah, sure, whatever I got is yours. Like, it was mine. I have a guy here who said to me, listen, Scott, every week I have a 20 in my pocket. So if anyone ever comes up to you and says that they need money for a bus pass, or they need money to, I don't know, get some lunch today or something, just point them in my direction and I'll take it. Now this is a cat then, for me, that doesn't covet the $20. He's like, yeah, I have $20 that I'm holding loosely. in case the need ever comes up. And I feel like, shouldn't that be how I'm operating all the time? In this space where, like, I'm not trying to keep mine, right? I'm blessed by mine, but if someone needs something, I'm gonna address that thing in need because I wanna build treasure up in heaven, not here. Because if I do drop dead on my way to the car, right? Anything that I feel like I worked hard for the money is now worthless to me. And you might say, well, that's good for your kids, and that's generational wealth. Just kidding, it's not generational. It's not even like tomorrow's wealth. It's like yesterday's wealth. Like, on the wealth. I don't know why I'm painting that picture today. I don't know why I keep looking at Job. I feel like he's embarrassed. I don't know. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, treasure in heaven. That's a bank account I want to leave all my money in. The treasure in heaven. The purse that doesn't go bad, that doesn't go old. An inexhaustible treasure in heaven where no thief could ever reach it or moth ruin it. Build it up in heaven. My treasure in heaven. What does that look like for you and for me? Well, it doesn't mean necessarily I'm going to give all my money to the poor, but I'm going to make myself available to the poor, or the marginalized, the broken, the lost, the people that feel like no one cares about them. That's my treasure. If it takes me money to get to them, I'll spend that money. If it takes me money to get in with them, I'm going to spend that money. Right? And not to the point where I want to go and sit with someone who's lost or broken and say, you're lost or broken, you need the Lord. And you're going to hell if you don't. I don't want to put it. I'm sorry. You just caught my eye. We were looking at each other. We made eye contact. I'm not yelling back. Not that. To walk with them and carry their burden. Be a friend to them. I have this girl. I met her at a wedding. I've only done. She's really great. She lives a style of life that I don't live. But she's like one of the most Jesus people I know. She's just not a Jesus person. She's flagrantly Jesus, right? But she's this other thing, right? And there's people in my position that don't hang out with these people, if you know what I'm trying to say. Her mom just got out of the hospital and needs to recuperate. And she needed a recliner. And so, I don't have a recliner. I mean, I do, but that's my recliner. Anyway, so I found someone that had a recliner. And I got it for her, right? I made arrangements for her to pick it up. I didn't have to lift a finger. I didn't go pick it up or anything. She just did it. And that meant everything to her because no one in her family lifted a finger to help her. Now, I'm not saying that to make myself look good, but I'm saying I need to be available. Even if it's not my recliner, let's find you a recliner. How hard can that be? And then I had a friend that said, I got a recliner. It's big and stuffy and fluffy and super comfortable. I'm not even using it. Maybe she is, maybe she's not. I don't know. But we gave her that recliner. And it made a difference in that lady's life. So now when she thinks about Christian dudes, she thinks about me. Not me, she thinks about me. She thinks about me there was this one guy though, he wasn't a jerk. He was the one person who actually made a difference. Again, not for my glory, but for his glory. Not because it made me money, but because it's treasure in heaven. Give me all that treasure. I'm only here for a few more years. Give me all that treasure. Operate in that space. And that's what I feel like we're called to do. We have to have the kind of relationship with our money to be able to sacrifice our abundance when we see the need in someone else. That's the Jesus way. Putting people ahead of our own ambition. Ambition is not a problem unless it costs somebody something else. If you see someone's need and you don't address it, but you got extra, doesn't Jesus say that? If you got something, give. If you get two of something, give it. This isn't the Bible, I'm sure of it. You get two of something, give one to somebody else. Because then he also says, if someone comes and steals your coat, give him your shirt too. Because he says that too. That's the kind of economy that we're talking about. That kind of economy. Not more for us, right? The only us treasure that we should be thinking about is the treasure that's on the other side. We got some discussion questions prepared for you to talk about stuff. They're coming up right here. So let's just take some time and go through these questions, and then we'll come up and we'll close.